And for those of you who are here today who are younger, you will probably eventually be married or be involved in a significant relationship. But I would invite you this morning to think about the possibility, the fact that some of you may indeed have the potential for living your lives as priests, brothers, and sisters. I'm not saying that's the best way. Obviously, it's not the only way. And it is a matter of call, of choice, and of fit. In my years of vocation ministry, I came to know clearly that the number one reason why young women and men, or not so young, never think about priesthood or religious life as options is because no one ever asked them to think about it. So I'm here this morning to extend that invitation to you. If you've never been asked to think about it, I'm inviting you today to do just that. Consider it as one of your options as you look to the future. And for those of you who are here as parents, grandparents, teachers, or any of you who know that you have some contact and influence with young people, are you encouraging them to look at all the possible options for their futures? And are you willing to share the story of your midnight call? What is it that helped you to become the person that you are today? And maybe the same questions could be asked of you. How did you know, and why do you stay? Why do any of us try to remain faithful to commitments? As the people of God, we are invited to create what has come to be called a vocation culture, an environment in which the young or not so young feel free to really explore what it is that God might be asking of them and how God might be acting in their lives. And that they can be confident that there will be others there to support them in that exploration and in their decision making. I'd like to share a couple things with you that I've learned along the way that might be helpful in creating this culture for vocations. First of all, sometimes contrary to what we might think, I really believe that God is a God of multiple choices, and that God does not play games with us, waiting for us to stumble upon that one little thing that God had in mind for us. We are God's beloved, and God takes delight in however we choose to live out that life. When you're choosing among goods, God is present in all of them. But sometimes we seem to have the notion that God takes delight in our misery, that if it's hard, it must be about God. I remember one time when I was working in the vocation office in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and a young man came one day, and I could tell he was just a nervous wreck in coming to visit me. And he sat down and he said, "I know there's a priest shortage. I'm here to help." And I said to him, "Well, thank you for the offer, but really we're not that desperate." Clearly, it was not what he wanted to do with his life, but felt that that was the only way that he could be carrying out the will of God. God's deepest desire is often our deep desire, particularly when it is a way of serving others and really seeking for what is it that God might be asking of me at this time. Secondly, I've learned that God works in the very ordinary. Most of us will not experience a midnight call quite as dramatic as that of Martin Luther King. And are we willing to see how God works in the ordinary, the people and the events that are part of our day-to-day lives? I saw a billboard one time, and the saying on it has stayed with me. And it said this: if you're looking for a sign from God, this is it. Are we willing to allow the "this is it" to be present in our daily lives? Are we always waiting for something more dramatic, something that will be clearer, and yet in the end find that in our waiting, we never move on anything at all? Part of our reality at this time is that we have fewer priests and sisters and brothers. But young people cannot choose what they don't know. So I'm here to invite you to get to know us. As Father John mentioned, School Sisters of Notre Dame are right here in your presence. They're up on Good Counsel Hill and sprinkled throughout this city. And I would like to invite you to do just that, to come and to get to know us. You are more than welcome to come and visit and see for yourself what our lives are like. This way of life, this vowed community, has provided me with countless opportunities to join with others who have similar values in helping good things to happen and hopefully in helping our world and our church to be better. My worldview is forever being stretched because of the fact that I belong to an international community and our sisters are all over the world. I hear the news differently because of my sisters in Kenya, in Eastern Europe, in Central and South America, in Nepal, and in so many other countries. I've had quite a variety of community and ministry experiences, not all of which were easy, but for which I am still grateful. So in case you are wondering, I do stand before you today, and I can say with a great deal of conviction and deep commitment that this is a life worth living. I said earlier that vocation is an encounter with God that radically changes your life. But I also want to say that any life commitment, as so many of you well know, is lived out day by day by day. And sometimes we're on fire about that commitment we've said yes to, and sometimes we kind of fumble around and stumble around and make mistakes. But each day we are also invited to trust that God is indeed with us. And that is the heart of vocation. That's the only thing that allows us to make any sense out of any way of life that we would choose to live. And this Lenten season is a time to be reminded of just that. The readings today carry us more deeply into this Lenten season. And though the first reading is full of shall nots, the bottom line question is how much do I really want to know God in my life? And what will keep me focused on God? Our second reading reminds us that God's great wisdom and strength are indeed with us, and we can rely on God. And finally, in our gospel, we see the manifestation of the great passion and commitment of Jesus to be about God's mission, no matter what the cost might be. So as we approach this Eucharistic table together, I would invite us to pray for each other today, so that the bread of life that we are about to receive will nourish us and renew our desire to be open to that midnight